Hey, it's the Chief, Bonding with Board Games. We're going to be talking about SpaceCorp. I always want to say Space Corps just because of the Marine Corps, but it's for corporations. 2025 to 2300 AD. It has a great solo player bot. It can also play up to 2, 3, or 4. I'm going to do a review focusing on the solitaire system. It's a card-based game, really. The cards are driving all of, or most of, the action. Let me show you how everything looks, kind of how the actions take place. I'm not going into in-depth gameplay. We'll come back out. I'll give you my thoughts. It's from GMT. Hello.
All right, a quick look at the components. I'll explain some of the rules in like a brief fashion. So we've got the Mariners board out. There will be 2 other boards, which I'll explain in a little bit, that move you through the 3 different eras of this game. You've got some great helper aids, typical quality GMT style. I've got here the regular player aid. Players 1, 2, 3, and 4 will have one. Then I've got a solo player aid that assists you. Obviously, I'm playing the game with kind of a bot, more of this deck over here that's going to help you out. Rule book is great. Lays out my favorite thing. I'll show you first if I can find it. The splash page is what I call it. So it shows you everything on the table as you need it, and then walks you through with arrows and guides on what every piece is. Love this because it really helps out with the terminology of the game and knowing exactly what's what. So we have the board. I'll zoom in on that in a second, show you some of the prettiness, and I'll unfurl the other board, which is double-sided, and we'll talk about that in a second. Your player board stores what's called your infra. It's short for infrastructure. I don't like calling it infra. I feel like it's hashtag infra. It feels very millennial. I just call it infrastructure. You'll be it's a card-based, heavy card-based game. You'll be holding cards in your hand, sometimes getting some down on your infrastructure board, and you can use things on your infrastructure board to augment cards in your hand that allow you to do several different actions, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Some of the cards you'll be drawing, should have got that all the way off, will be from these offers, and you'll also be drawing cards. You can draw blind straight from the deck. Some randomness with these discovery tiles. There's different things, points of interest. You could have water on a planet, special mineral resources, special elements that can come up that can help you as you're running research and some of the actions you'll do. And your score track board, you're scoring in the trillions. And there's different goals that you're going to want to do. So you got your profit track and then your business display. And if you hit certain goals throughout the game, you slide over the orange and you get rewarded in different trillions of dollars. This is basically in its whole, it feels like a light Euro game race. If I had to describe it, I would say it's a race game. You're trying to explore and expand and build, and you're trying to get it done quicker than the other person or the bot at the table. Let me show you this map. So you start on terra firma there, and you can see there's the moon, and we have these concentric circles that lead us further and further out. For movement, you're always paying at least 1 to lift off. You're paying prices, if I can get my finger to come on right, prices. You're paying movement points as you move further and further out. Let's say we're headed to Mars. So if we lift it off, that would be 1. If we then headed into or through this zone, that would be 2. You can see we're getting much further out into space. So you would add on another 3. And then you can't just float around out there. You have to land on something, whether it's a spaceport, a moon, a planet, whatever. It's always another one to land. I'll get into the actions, but the board lays out your movement so clearly and cleanly, and it really shows your space distances, I think, quite nicely in a wonderful visual way. And the beauty of the planets and the moons, and Halley's Comet is coming in. I'll pan down. You can see we've got the sun and Sisyphus. All right, let me show the solo deck real quick and the reason for the Bart Simpson Cup. Obviously, because I'm Bart, someone's giving me a Bart Simpson Cup. So you take one of the teams. So this is the bot. I just picked blue. It can be any of the ones you're not using. I am using like this purple. So you will then have one of the other teams be the bot. These are in here, these structures, buildings, things you can draw. What is that? Industrial. Bot uses a deck of cards from another era that you're not using. So we're in the Mariners. You're going to be using the Planeteers deck, which you can tell by this little symbol down here. You're literally ignoring all of this information. This is all for you when you play the next level, the next map, and I'll explain what this stuff does with the Mariners deck here in a second. But all you're doing is this. That is it. This bot deck, you're just paying attention to these. You are ignoring everything else. So let me pull these off, or a couple of these off, and I'll show you basically how those work. And then I'll go in and just show the actions that I can take on my turn. And that'll kind of be the brief overlay. I'll show the other maps, and we'll talk a little bit more about the business display and what you're trying to do here. So for the first example, you can see this says Luna. Right there, Luna. So after you know it's Luna, you're taking out your solo play card. You're looking, this is what helps you with the competition, which is what the bot is. And you're just simply seeing, does the competition have a team present on Luna on the moon or not? And a team, let me grab several of them, are these little cubes. And when you're playing the competition or the bot side, I know you've got the blue markers in there for the structures, but the competition are all the other pieces. If there is no team, and these are the competition teams down here, again, you don't worry about the color. My teams, the purple ones, are there. The bot is going to place out a competition team. It doesn't matter the color. And they have not gotten to Luna, so boom, they're on Luna. Now, if I had all of my competition cubes already out on the map, and I didn't have one to place there, it tells me that I will grab a discovery tile. In this case, I have a stack down here that's E1. I would grab a competition tile and put it on there, or a competition tile, a discovery tile, and I would place it. If there was already a tile there and my piece wasn't there, I would place one of my competition cubes on the site, so not on the tile, but it would be on the site. Now it gets a little bit different if I'd already had a competition team present. So again, it doesn't matter which color. But let's say we went to look because we drew that Luna card. There's already a team present. At which point I would actually remove the team, come over to my nifty cup. I would shake up the cup. I would blindly draw one out, and I would put the research base down on Luna. If I already had a team present on a site, that'd be a little bit different for a lunar. If it was this, or a lunar for the Lagrange Point, if that was the case, I'd automatically just draw a base to put there. But since we have a discovery area, I have a team present. The tile would get flipped, placed down. They would be awarded, in this case, it's $1 trillion that would go over on the board. And my team, or the competition team, sorry, has made a discovery. And then you would remove the team, draw a base blindly from my Bart Simpson cup. This would be a refinery, and it would go onto Luna. All right, let's say you drew a card. Now I've got two here because these are offers cards. See if I can bring that in. You can see offers 124 with a little green spaceship. I'll talk about these icons at the end in a second. And this one says offers 23 with a moon. First of all, these are not 124 and 23 respectively. It should be offers 1, 2, 4, comma. I don't know why they didn't put them in there. It would clean it up for me a little bit, but hey, what they're saying is offers 1, 2, and 4. And what it's doing is the bot if they get an offer, is going to be flushing these cards out of the offers area, which means when you're playing solo, if something's up here, you better go get it. It also will give them, with this green movement ship, anything that matches the move, all three of them in this case, will give them 3 victory points or $3 billion. 1 billion, 1 billion, 1 billion. Trillion, sorry. See, I've got my billions and trillions off. It's 1 trillion. Offers 23, same deal, but it would have been just 2 and 3. And then you're saying, well, what's the moon? The moon's the symbol for the Mariners board. And you'll then look down here for solo play only, and it tells you what the value is for the competition. And the offers action key says for movements, they're going to get 1 trillion. So this would have been worth 2 trillion victory points for blue on the victory count. So these are extremely easy. It's just moving these cards around, and just know that's not 23, it's 2, 3. You will replenish these, and on occasion you're going to get these edge cards. So if an edge card comes up in the replacement of the offers, you actually flip over, you will look up the if revealed during competition offers action, you'll look that up depending what the solo edge effect is, and then you'll just do its action. So it could be you lose $2 trillion. There's several. It's just a nice little touch again. There's not a lot of edge cards, but they're there. So if they come up, that's going to affect you in this offer stage as well. All right, another card action, and the last type of special card action that the bot will get is you will get one that says 1 discovery and contract 6. I'm going to come back to contract 6 in a second. It's going to be on our victory track board over here. The discovery, and sometimes they'll even have discover 2, you're going to look around on the board and you're going to see wherever you have teams. So these are competition teams. Remember, I'm playing purple, so these are competition teams. And then you're going to look and see which one is of the highest values. This is what, B5, and this is B2. That's the higher value. You're going to look and see what the discovery is going to be. It's going to be E1. So you're going to come out and you're going to draw a discovery tile, place it, and you would score, if there were $1 trillion markers on this left corner, you would score that immediately. You would also then take the team and put it on top of the tile, showing that they've claimed it. Now the other part of this card, you remember, says contract 6. This is simple as simple gets. So I'm going to pan over. So here, let me widen out. So these orange discs show competitions that we're all trying to get. So we're on our contracts, sorry, that we're all trying to get. These are the Mariners contracts. In this case, nobody's gotten any of them. Now, let me zoom in on the text real quick. Let me reposition my camera. All right, so here, first of all, contract number 6, you can see is cards in 3 infra slots. All right, that is what I would need, 3 infrastructure slots. And the competition, when they pull this contract 6, they're going to put a token on it to show that they're moving toward this contract. Now, if they get another contract 6, they will score those 2 trillion victory points, and I won't be able to get it. So what this effectively does is puts me on notice, especially if I'm in the game getting close, if in game I'm getting close to collecting or achieving this effect. And I'm going to get to the 3 Emperor slots. That's just my board where I can lay cards down and work on infrastructure. But all this is doing on this card is pushing these contracts around so that there's actually competition by the bot for them. And you'll see we've got the first produce action. 3 Lagrange bases have been put on the map by one team or the competition. 3 non-Lagrange bases. They're all laid out here. This is the first era. You'll then move into the Planeteers and then the Starfarers. But all we're worrying about is this. However, this board will move, or these contracts will survive through all 3 eras of the game. But that is all that means. It's simple. Contract 6, boom. All right, well, that's your bot. So again, you're just drawing a card, looking at the gray spot, doing one of those 3 types, and yes, there's some little things sometimes inside each of those actions, but it's just placing the competition out on the board, letting them do discoveries, letting them move teams, letting them grab contracts. Let's get down real quick to how you'll run when it's your turn, whether you're playing against a bot or whether you've got 2, 3, or 4 human players at the table. All right, so on my turn, I'm going to have several actions I can take. But let me just show you my board first. So this is my infrastructure board. These are as if there's already cards down there. So I'll have research 2, which is going to allow me to draw cards. That's an action that would be available to me. And I have a move 1, which means that if I get a card, like in this case, also has a move 1, I could actually play this, and I could say, well, I've got a move 1 on my infrastructure board, and I've got a move 1 here, so I've got a move 2 in effect. You're going to need a little bit more move than that, but that's how these slots work, and you'll have the ability to take some cards from your hand and put them down in these slots. It also works as just a placekeeper for your bases. These will come up later, and there's a progress wheel where you'll see this tan and this black cube can be pushed around just to show some progress that's going on. So let me talk about the actions. All right, just to rattle them off, you've got a research, which I already talked about, a move, explore, build, produce, genetics, upgrade, and then there's a special in there. So talking about them individually, research, if you take the research action, so you're going to be able to conduct a single action. If I do research, it means I can go in and play any cards that might be in my hand, and I can actually get quite a hand size. Can't find one now, but I could simply draw 2 cards. That's all research is. Now I can draw from the offers category, so if something's out here that I want, any one of these 4 areas, I can grab it, pull it into my hand. I could also just draw right off the top of the deck, and then that goes into my hand. Research. The research action can only be taken if I have 7 or fewer cards in my hand. All right, let's say I want to take a move action. I got these cards in my hand. So I've got a total of move 3, plus I've got an infrastructure of move 1, so I've got 4 movement points I can do. So what can 4 movement points do for me? Let me zoom in on the board a little bit. All right, so it's always going to cost me 1 movement point to launch. However, you got to look at the place you're moving from. If I'm launching from Earth, there's a +2 gravity, so I've got to fight gravity. So instead of 1 to launch, it's going to take me 3, and then it would take me, I don't have to move to, if I were to move out of this zone, that would be 4, and I'd be in trouble because I still got to have 1 to land where I want to go. But with this, I could come out to the moon, let's say this wasn't here. All right, it hadn't been explored yet. I could move a team costing 3 to launch. Okay, 1 + 2 for the gravity. It's very close. I don't have to travel further outside of the local area, and 1 to land. All right, let's say I was already on Luna, just to show another example, and I wanted to send my team to Sisyphus. I may be saying it wrong. So 1 to lift off. There is no gravity penalty for the moon, so that's 1. Coming across, you can see that's going to be 2. All right, coming across is going to be 3. You can see that here. And then I have to land. I can't just leave my team out in space, but to land on this base, this place I can land, is 4. So that would be another use of 4 movement. So let's pretend I got here, just like I showed you with the move action on a past turn. Let me see if I can get this down. And so now I want to play, it's another future turn, and I want to play an Explore, because Explore is going to allow me to get a resource token onto the board where I have a team. So I've got to have at least explore 1. You'll see some sites will say explore 2. Right there you can see Mars has an E2, so this card would have worked for that as well. But it doesn't matter. I'm on this location and I want to explore it. I come down, I grab an E1 token, all right, and let me show you what a couple of these look like. All right, I'll just show you a couple here, and I'll set them down. So you see I have a natural wonder. If I'd gotten the natural wonder, it's going to give me $2 trillion that I would immediately score on my little racetrack, and it would become what's at this location. If I had gotten the abundant ores, you can see it doesn't have any immediate effect, but there's going to be some things that I can do later with the item. Abundant ores as a base -2. Well, if I go to put a research base in this location, it's going to cost me 2 less to put it there. The P0, that would be if I had a production action and it could get me trillions of points. The abundant ores are not going to give me any money. And I would claim it. All right, so another great card. So Explore, again, I could have used this to do the action I just did. Explore 1 was all it took. But let's say it's a future turn and I want to build a base. Well, this card would allow me to either explore somewhere else or build. Well, I definitely want to build. I have a team here. I've claimed this claim. Genius. I can now build a base. The base is going to cost me B4. All right, so it's going to cost me 4 of these builds to do it. This particular tile makes it -2, which would mean I would be 1 short if I wanted to build with that card. So I would either have to have something that I had saved up in my infrastructure, or maybe I've got a bigger hand of cards and I've got a second build card. But getting lucky enough to find these abundant ores right on the place where I'm going to build has made it much easier for me to do so. So I've played my 2 cards, I've put in the effect of the abundant ores, and I've now built a base of my choice. Let me pan down and I'll show you the different bases real quick. All right, so you can see the different types. In the very first Mariners, you do not have the shield factory or the secure or the exploiter is what I believe it's called, or the exploiter. So those have been removed, but you can see you have refineries, spaceports, industrial, research, the biolab, and the attraction. And then those correspond depending on the type of discovery you've made wherever you're building the base. So there's a build requirement and then a listed benefit, and for the build requirement, you can come in and you can see the base type and then the build requirement in order to have it. All right, let's grab the refinery, because when you have a refinery on a spot, the p-value or production value increases by +1. Since my regular little ore tile there is a P0, I need to get something out of it, or I want to. So I'm going to put a refinery over on Sisyphus. And the refinery is in my color, and that it is now an abundant ores that's going to make that a +1 rather than 0. So this moves us nicely into if I would have played a produce card. Now I want to show, so this one is produce 1, or I would add that build 2. It's either or. But you can see I have a produce 1 or an edge effect. All right, you can see, so play at the beginning of your turn and you just gain $1 trillion. Then I can take all the start cards from the offers. So all the offers are over here, and I'd be able to pull all of the cards that have, and this gets a little odd. If you can see it, it'll say start card. There's 12 of them. And if they're still in that area on the offers section, I can just clean them up. So you might want to play for the edge. But if I played for the produce, so you can remember, This produces 0, but because I have a refinery, it now produces 1, and I get $1 trillion for that. Now, if my action was to play and do a produce action, and I had either some infrastructure down on my board or 3 different produce, if I had multiple areas with production capability, I could produce in 3 different locations. So you can start to see how you're moving, exploring, or discovering and exploring, and then building a base, and then you're starting to produce in multiple locations, and you're just generating a victory point engine. All right, there's not many, but you can also have a genetics card or action. You play it down, so not onto there, but you play your genetics, and genetics is this cube. You can advance it, and once you make a full revolution, there's some things you won't be doing in the Mariners, but you can end up doing in the Planeteers or the Starfarers. And you won't see it in this deck, but this will be for Revelations, which are going to do some other similar things. So you're going to have genetics and Revelations, and they'll allow you to have future breakthroughs or adaptions in further rounds. This will stay with you as you're moving through, so this won't wipe out as you go into the next eras. All right, if you ever have a card that has this may upgrade as infrastructure, I refuse to say infra, it means that you could play it down onto your board and it becomes an action that you can just use with the cards in your hand, as I explained earlier. All right, then the way an era ends is if you have 6 of the different contracts, let's just say, have been 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if 6 of them have been 1, that would end the era. Or if you exhaust either the bot's deck or your solo playing deck, that will end the era, and you'll move to the next. Now, none of this will change. So if this one didn't get discovered, it would be sitting just like this as you start into the Planeteers. And it doesn't mean that it can't still be pulled over, but you're going to preserve this status as it is. Now let me show you kind of how the maps switch out. I'm not going to go through how each of there's some small little differences. You do build in some extra layers. But let me show you kind of how the boards work and how they look real quick. All right, so our Mariners board actually gets flipped, and it shows the progress cards that are now going to be layered into the game. So you will see they give yet another splash page. They walk through with all the arrows. You can see the progress board here. So you know this was the Mariners board. It's now doing double duty. And I'll pull down the Planeteers board so you can see it. You'll also get a different player board, but you'll be able to bring over one of your infrastructure cards. Hello, get it open. All right, so, and I really like the look and feel. So again, it's a smaller board. It's the same size as your prior Mariners board. I'm just saying overall, it's a smaller board surface that you're working on. But I find these boards to be gorgeous, and I really like the feel of how it feels like I'm expanding into space. So let me zoom in on a few things just so you can see the Planeteers board. You'll see you got all the offers over here. That's going to be the same. You've got the slightly different actions that are going on with competition offer actions key for the solo play. But let's take a look at the art. So what I really like is this is the Mariners game we just played. So this is the inner solar system, and we're now spreading out into the greater solar system. So you can see Jupiter, Ganymede. You can see all the other, there's Saturn, and I don't know, it's just gorgeous. I love this board. So you can just see, and it gives you a little bit of, at least to me, of how distant these things really are. Let me zoom in over here. So you see we got a radiation belt. There's Titan. Let me come all the way out to Pluto there. So you can see distant Pluto. You can see these sixes and how far you're really traveling out. And then you can see the Oort cloud. And again, it just gives you a feel of how far, I'm way too tight, and how vast space is. Let me flip this real quick just so you can see the starfarers. This is definitely more abstract. I mean, you're now looking at solar systems, different solar systems that you're traveling from. So you're in Sol, and now you're moving out into these others. And I totally get the feel of this map, and I understand the distant regions. Hello. The middle one, the Planeteers, is the most gorgeous to me, though. But this is still, I mean, you get an idea of the vastness, which is what this should do. And it is neat how you're able to show that progress over time and distance.
All right, we're back. First of all, I'm going to enjoy a little bit of Japanese whiskey, hibiki. As long as you're part of a space corporation, you should be taking the good stuff with you. And this hibiki has all these flavors of honeycomb in there and everything. So, the game has a lot of flavors too. Let me give you the first one. Easy to learn. This is another great GMT manual. The game system lends itself to the teaching style that I like, which is a little bit at a time. Here's enough to play the Mariners. Boom. Now you can go on to the Planeteers, and then you can go on to the Starfarers. And this is all the rules you need to know now. And when you play the next one, you're going to use those and this. And then when you play the last one, and this. The splash pages, you've already heard me mention them. I really like the splash pages. It allows me to get the game down on the table, get all the pieces out. I'm speaking the same language as the designers, or the designer and the producers of the game. I can see if they're saying infra. I know what infra is. However, I do not like the word infra. Just call it infrastructure, please. All right, so in my mind, this is a race game. As soon as I was playing, I thought, this is a race. I will draw my cards, and I better do whatever I can possibly do with those cards at the moment. Not that you want to sit on your laurels in any game, but there's not necessarily where you can like build up a hand and then do this crazy wild thing that's going to, maybe it's a long shot, but it pays off big. You're way better off, my opinion, to see the cards you got, play those cards to the best of those cards' ability, whatever that is, and then next, back to me. Or if I'm playing with the bot, do my little bot thing. I'll come back to the bot in a second. So, my feel was definitely of, I better do what I can right here, getting those move actions down, and then as you're spreading out, really the way I laid out the actions is almost how you've got to get there with your team, and then your team's going to get that discovery tile, and then there's going to be some exploring, and do you put a base down, and then what are you doing on the production side? And you can't forget, you're moving your victory point tile around the track. It's 1 trillion here, 2 trillion there. You're trying to do these, I'm forgetting what the board's called, the challenges or the contracts. You're trying to fulfill these contracts. To get into the bot now. One thing I do love is how the bots get to put one of their competition cubes on there. And many a time, I've been getting close to achieving a contract. The bot kicks one of their little competition cubes on there, and the tension does ratchet up. So when a solo system can cause tension, That's what I like. That's what I'm looking for, and it does it on that phase of it. It also does it by just really spreading those teams throughout the solar system or whichever map you're on, and then how their discoveries kick in and how they're then doing bases and things of that nature. It took me a while to get used to the solo deck, the bot deck. It's just the little box down there, just the gray box. Just do that, and then you're kicking out cards or you're putting in little competition cubes. But it flows fast. The bot turn flows fast. My turn is then flowing fast, and it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If the bot wasn't in there, there's not a lot that you're doing on your turn. You're working off of your existing infrastructure on your board. You have the cards that you've drawn or got in your hand. Maybe you're doing a research action to get more, but you're literally going to inspect the board space, see what you got, ideally make a move right there, do the thing that you can or best thing that you want to do next. And it flows like that, clean. So I give it it's a space themed, like Euro-ish game that's a race. So the question will be, do I find the bot challenging? Yes. The bot's allowed to break rules. It's not like you're just playing the open hand of another player and trying to do the best action. You know, it'll tell you, do they have a competition team there? Yes, no. If yes, do this. If no, do this. And they're spreading pretty quickly, and it has a bit of fog of war there. So I think that works well. It doesn't, I don't know, it's not like it feels like there's a human player there, which is totally fine. I actually think this bot system works better, and I like the ingenuity of the next preceding deck is the one that's going to be the bot, and then you can, at least I think I can see some of the algorithms that were kind of figured out on, well, what can I put on this card to give it the proper competitive feel. So the bot works. I think I'm going to tell you, me personally, I like this better as a solo game. Although it moves quick, it wasn't something I was intrigued about having groups over to play. It was something that I liked, that I could sit down to quietly. Everyone's gone to bed, and you can just run through turns so easy that even 15, 20 minutes I could get some turns in, do the bot thing, and I could pick up and set it down and drop it and come back to it in little parcels without it suffering. So that was what I really liked about it. I'll stick with, I'm not really interested in getting this to the table with a group of people, because I think I want to continue with I have 10 minutes. I'm going to take however many turns I can get in, and then I got to go make sure somebody's taking a bath or read a book to somebody that's getting ready to go to bed. So it gave me little bite-sized gaming actions throughout my week. And it's a pretty quick game, but I didn't sit through and play it like a big old fashion. It was literally something I did bite-sized pieces over about 2 weeks, moving from one map and then to the next and learning the new thing and then to the next and whatever the new thing was. So it seems to be doing pretty good, and I would bet GMT will sell out of this. So, I mean, I'm not privy to their sales figures or anything, but I'm hearing a lot of buzz on it. I love John Butterfield. He's one of my favorite designers. Now, if you're thinking this is, well, I don't know. I mean, Ambush is one of my favorites that he's done. He's done all his D-Day solitaire system. It's very different from that. But I think I've covered the differences enough. You got to feel for it. See you guys later. Go out and get your little bite-sized space adventure gaming against bots. See you later. Back to my Japanese whiskey. Hey, it's the Chief Bonnie with Board Games. We're going to be talking about space Scase.